It's about relationships. Relationship with Him. Did we come and worship Him with our heart and honesty? Even in our brokenness and our anger, did we come and say, God, I'm really upset, and yet I'm seeking you out? I mean, that to God is like, that's a relationship that He's working with. Do we come and say, how can I be used by you to connect with someone else and encourage them, or let someone else into my life enough to encourage me? That's what it's about. All of that, at the end of the day, if God is tallying, which He's not tallying, but if I was God and I was tallying, it'd be about that. It would be about relationships and how those are being built up. And so busyness obviously can break away those relationships, and it really counters that when we're too busy. So the point of that then is never let busyness compromise our relationships. When we see it compromising, we need to be able to deal with it. Well, the third thing here then, so we have, certainly our relationship with God that suffers, and we miss out not seeing Him in there, but then there's a relationship with others. But then maybe the third that really jumps out here is that my own life suffers. We go from a place of rest to a place of worry. Seeing the contrast between the two, I mean, it's, the writing's on the wall. Mary's sitting there listening to Jesus. I doubt she's anxious. She seems very restful. Probably a smile on her face. Just in a moment of just taking in what Christ has to say. And Martha, on the other hand, as Jesus says there in verse 41, He says, man, you are worried and upset about many things. Your mind is going a mile a minute, Martha. And you're thinking about all this stuff, and it's just creating anxiety in your life. It's disrupting you. I mean, you can imagine her countenance. It's just affecting her physically and emotionally and spiritually. The thing about busyness, and again, I'm speaking as an expert, so you need to be listening to me because I'm very good at this, being busy. It requires us to maintain control. And we face the fear of letting go. So we like to, make our list so we have control of knowing how we. If I stay busy, then I'm in the driver's seat, and there is some anxious comfort in that, knowing that, well, at least I know it'll get done if I do it, the way I want it done, and we just face this anxiety, because if we want to be in control, there's a lot of stress with that. There's a lot of impatience with that. There's a lot of disappointment with that. Because we're trying to get other people to do it like we want to do it, and they don't do it like we want to do it. And we try to be able to make sure it happens the way we want it to happen, but we can't fully control that it happens, and it just creates worry and anxiety, just as Jesus described. Our life ends up losing a sense of peace and contentment. Paul wrote in Philippians 4, and Paul, the Apostle Paul, was a guy who went through a lot of struggles and stuff, and yet he wrote in Philippians 4, 12, 13, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all things through Him who gives me strength. There's a man who's describing what it's like to live life sitting in the presence of Jesus, listening to Him speak. As he journeys to the next church, the next city, he is taking in this moment of Christ, and he's content. Jesus offers us a life of rest. It's not something we get when we die, rest in peace kind of thing. It's not. It can be now. It can be in our financial struggles. It can be in our relationship struggles. It can be in the anxiety of wondering what the future is going to be like. That in that moment, Christ promises us and offers us full rest. Do you believe that? Jesus quoted him in Matthew 11, 28, 30. He says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. Mary's listening to Jesus, learning from him. Learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. I read that, and honestly, I think, what would that be like? And there are moments where I know for myself I can feel that. When I truly take my schedule or my day and I recognize the fact that I got to lay this before Jesus. And I got to face the life in the presence of Him and allow Him to work through my circumstance and my situation. Jesus promises in verse 42, when He's talking about this, Mary has chosen what is better and it will not be taken from her. He's really, saying, look at, when we do it, when we allow busyness or remove and lower the business level of our life, and we really get connected with Christ and put Him in the center, we will find this. And I will not take it from you. It's a promise that Christ offers us that we can have. We can lose it, but we lose it by letting our life get too busy. Do you find rest? Do you feel at rest? Do you feel worried? And it's not an either or. I want to make sure we understand that. It's a daily getting up and saying, do I get up today and choose to work in the kitchen and be busy and try to control, or do I get up and choose to say, God, I'll walk through the day with you leading the way. I'll go out on Craigslist and look for jobs with you leading the way. I'll go back to my work and my cubicle with the coworkers that I can't stand, and I'll let you lead the way. And I'll face a new day in your presence, listening to you speak. It really is a state of mind of trying to be able to come to Christ. And when I say state of mind, it's the action of allowing the power of Christ to work in us, because Paul said, I can only do things through Christ. Jesus said, you can only do it through me. You can't do it on your own. Too often, part of control and the busyness is we're trying to do the right thing, but we're doing it on our own. We're trying to, I'm going to go to church, and I'm going to read the Bible, and I'm going to do all these things, but I'm doing it on my own strength, which is the same thing as Martha, trying to get it done in the presence of Jesus, but being oblivious what really is going on. So let me just, I kind of wanted to tie in here with how we can make sure we don't let life get too busy. Because I think really my desire for us, this is a big area. This is an area where, certainly in our culture, in North America, it's probably one of our biggest problems. This is an area in the context of the church. We just did a kind of a workshop with some of us leaders yesterday, and talking about how do we help people get into community. And one of the biggest areas is our busy schedules. How do you get someone to change their schedule that's already booked? And I can say, yeah, here's a small group, and they're saying, oh yeah, one more thing? I can't do it. It requires each one of us to make our own choice and our own priority shift, and to come to Christ and say, God, help me reschedule my life based on what your desire is. But it's something we can do because it's what God desires for us to do. It's the life that God promises that's going to be full and content and peaceful and full of all the things that are described are real things we can enjoy. It's not just some idealistic pipe dream out there. But we have to be able to begin that journey with a sense of Christ and working to Him. So I put out 4 things, and you could probably come up with more, but just kind of in context of this thing, I was thinking, how can I, as I go out, pay attention to my life and see when I'm too busy and make the right changes? So first of all, I said look for lessons in each moment. We used to do a kind of a God moments thing, and we're going to kind of start that up again. But it's being intentional when you live through the day where you are looking for the moments. Like the people in the subway, if they got up and said, hey, there might be something really special going on, I ought to pay attention as I'm going to work today. You would think those people might say, oh, wait a minute, there's a violinist here who's really good. Maybe this is special. Their problem was they were focused on get to work, and they're just oblivious to what's going on around them.